In other news, a new session of the US Congress starts today, with the House now dominated by Democrats, but with no sign of a workable plan to end a 12-day-old partial shutdown in Washington, and the president not budging with his demands for more border wall funding. What is to be expected this year? Well, to discuss this, let's speak to former White House advisor Oliver McGee, who's in Lubbock in Texas, and Democratic strategist Taryn Rosenkrantz, who joins us now from Washington. Hello to you both. Thank you for joining us. Taryn, to you first of all, if I may. Given that it's going to be a House that is dominated by the Democrats, does that mean that the country is going to start moving again?
Well, certainly we hope so. The Democrats have already offered a couple of bipartisan solutions to try to get the government back up and running. But unfortunately, President Trump is sort of holding his guns. In a tirade yesterday in the cabinet room, he continued to say that he would keep this shutdown going as long as it takes. So we're certainly concerned that he's going to dig his heels in on this one. But we're also kind of standing by and hopeful that we can get some of the other pieces of legislation and things, and certainly the government back up and running as soon as possible.
Oliver McGee?
I'm really optimistic as well. I think that the Congress, the 116th Congress, is really interested in trying to get something done. They just need to get to this impasse of immigration. You know, border security is about war, and most likely the president is going to win this war. And they're going to compromise and yield both on DACA as well as on the wall. We're going to get some compromise real quick, because this government shutdowns really don't matter that too much anymore. So I think both sides want to get back to business. But more importantly, this is going to be about taxes, trade, and transportation. Expect an infrastructure bill to come out on transportation. Expect taxes. We might even get a middle-class tax cut, because both sides of the aisle seem to be prone to that right now. And then also look for in trade that the China deal is going to be something that's going to be a boom for revenues. And I think that we're going to be very surprised on how much we're going to get a handle on intellectual property rights in this China deal.
OK. You're shaking your head there, Taryn, but I suppose what you can both agree on is that there will be more women as a result of the new rules and Congress moving into 2019.
Absolutely. We're really excited about the diverse class of people who have come into Congress this year. The freshman class has more females than ever before, both in the House and the Senate. We're seeing that we have more people of color. We have some really interesting folks that have come, and really some dynamic things. What I was sort of shaking my head in disagreement to Oliver was that, you know, he said government shutdowns don't really mean that much. I mean, I think that that's really hard to the thousands of workers in this country who are living paycheck to paycheck and don't know when their next paycheck will come. I think what gets forgotten by President Trump and by Congress and the Republicans in Congress who are digging in their heels is that this is a shutdown. These are people's lives. This is their livelihood. I mean, how tragic and sad during the holiday season that these folks had to worry about where they were going to be able to pay their rent and their mortgages and, you know, car payments, and just the everyday working Americans deserve to be able to know where their next paycheck is going to come from, especially when that paycheck is packed by the U.S. government. So I do think it's quite a shame. I'm excited about all of the females that are in Congress and the just really open and diverse and new kind of fresh blood that's coming there, because we're hopeful that they can do exactly what you sort of said originally, Kay, which is sort of jumpstart this and get some real, you know, actual things moving forward instead of this gridlock that we've seen over and over again since Trump's taken office.
Oliver McGee, what are you putting this new diversity of Congress down to? The last time we saw so many women in Congress was, I think, in the early 1990s, when there was a president involved in a sex scandal.
I think the new diversity is deliciousness. I think we're having the shift of demography taking place inside national politics. And that's really what this election was about. This is really tying the 1826 Andrew Jackson election to the 2018 Donald Trump election. What voters said that they wanted to rein in this president, like they reined in Andrew Jackson, to be able to really get some things done, and also look at the governing styles and put some constraints on that. And that's what we're having. I think that we're going to be very excited to see cybersecurity and information privacy go through. In the lame duck Congress, they signed off on the National Quantum Initiative, which is really going to be the best law that shaped science and technology in America for the next 25 years. This is exciting news. It's going to change on how we do information science. And I think this House agenda is going to be looking at voting rights in this diverse Congress, looking at gerrymandering of congressional districts in this Congress, and then also they're going to be looking very, very closely on how we are really doing the order of business and how we're shaping on campaign finance reform in this diverse Congress. So I'm very excited about diversity. More women, more blacks, more Latinos. This is a wonderful, wonderful time for politics and demography shift in America.
Taryn, what about President Trump's nemesis in the form of Nancy Pelosi? What's going to happen to her?
Well, Nancy Pelosi has been Speaker of the House before, and if you remember correctly, back when she did take office as Speaker, she was able to push through significant legislation that still benefits us today. So I have high hopes for what she'll be able to accomplish. I think that she also is someone, well, she does know how to work with a divided government, and she did that before when she did take office as Speaker. President Bush was still in office at the time. So she has that experience and the wherewithal to kind of stand by her guns when she needs to and what she needs to stand up for, but also has the ability to be able to get things done in a bipartisan and compromised way. That will be especially challenging with a President Trump who seems to, stick to his heels regardless of what anyone else says or does, and regardless of whether or not it's the right thing. So I do think it's an extra challenge, but I think she's up for the task, and I'm really excited to be able to see what we can get done. I think the most important thing that everyone's looking forward to, and the American public as well, because the polls are showing that, is sort of a checks and balance on the president. Because he is, unpredictable in nature, we really are looking to Congress to sort of be able to put that checks and balance back in place, so that, he's not just sort of getting every single thing he wants. For example, the border wall, campaign promise on his part that he was going to have that paid for by Mexico, and then now suddenly we've shut down the government because the American people need to pay for it. So I think this is a really good checks and balance, and something that we'll see her really, kind of focus on trying to get things done to help the American people, especially working families. And I think we'll see that happening and moving. And I think there's areas where there's bipartisan support. I think the congressional Republicans are going to have to kind of realize that they're going to have to cross the aisle to get things done. The most important thing at this point is...
Good to talk to you. Oliver, a final thought from you, sir.
I think very much so that this is going to be an opportunity for both sides to get something done. There is no stomach in this Congress for impeachment. Impeachment is really about no money. This Congress is going to be looking and using its investigative powers to look and follow the money and really look at the business community in regulations and so forth. So strap on your seatbelts in the C-suites of corporations. But that's really going to be just them basically staging for their base. I think what we're going to also see is really, really surprisingly, this infrastructure bill. That's going to be really exciting. That's going to be something that's going to be taking over the news. And then we're also going to be seeing very much so this possibility of a middle-class tax cut, because that's going to really rejuvenate things.
Guys, sadly, we are out of time. Oliver McGee, Taryn Rosencrantz, thank you both for joining us. I'm sure we'll speak plenty over the next 12 months. Thank you.